It's Soapbox. It's me, Dennis. I just got done hosting the Den Excelsior show for July 29th, 2022, with special guest Comedy Brian, where we talked about the first three episodes of Harley Quinn season 3. And that airs normally live on Friday nights, every Friday night at 8 o'clock, unless we have something else going on. Usually I'm joined with my co-host, Ricky. He was unavailable to be there this time. But yeah, if you guys ever want to check that out, that's what we do. And so this show that you're watching either live or you're catching it later on YouTube, this is the after show where we just hang out and bask in the glory that was our magical show.
And might I say it was glorious!
Whoa, that was levels on that.
Oh, sorry.
Were interesting.
Sorry about that.
I think something changed on the volume.
Yeah.
They talk for a second.
Hello. I'm going to check our minds
good
up.
Now.
Okay. Just don't come in yelling.
Just a general rule. Just don't show up on a new show and start yelling.
Yeah. That's what I do.
But I'm glad. I appreciate the enthusiasm. I was just letting people know, like anybody who's checking this show out right now could be when it's free on YouTube in the week after we stream, or if you're here in the moment, it could be because you're a Patron subscriber of Denix Media. And
if you're watching it free, I just want to say you should really subscribe and support on Patreon, because these shows take a lot of work, a lot of time, a lot of effort, and Dennis, great guy. This is a great podcast, obviously, and you get incredible news, you get incredible information, you get awesome guests, great talk that you can't get really anywhere else. You get knowledgeable people, except for me, and you should definitely check it out and support. And that's what you want to do. You want to support these creators who bring the stuff that you love. So,
thanks, appreciate it. By the way, you're popping a little bit still. Did you disconnect something when you in the break?
I did not, but let me back out and come back in. That should hopefully fix it.
All right, cool. Yeah, I hear the breathing more. So I think it's picking you up on a different mic. What were you using? It's the same. Do you have just the one mic?
I do. Hopefully it's not picking up these.
That definitely was loud when you touched that. So
it might be. Let me disconnect these and I'll go to my headphones.
Okay, cool. Sweet. Yeah, just exit and come back. And then meanwhile, I'll just talk shit about Brian. No, but that's Brian. He's our guest for the week. He is a comedian. I've known him for a long time. He's had a fun go of learning how to navigate stand-up comedy in a post-COVID world. So that's resulted in him having his own podcasts and with his own guests, the Uncommon Comedy show, I believe is what it's called. I'll double check with him when he gets back. But yeah, he's also a pretty amazing character voice impersonator.
How's that? Is that better?
You sound way better.
Okay, good.
Yeah, that's why it was popping, because something changed. I don't know, between the two shows.
Yeah, I must have hooked the mic up through the Bluetooth.
Yeah,
earbuds or whatever.
There was a lot of breathing noises and popping and crackling and stuff that was happening.
I do like breathing.
Yeah.
Now
you can do your Bane.
Yes.
Well, there's the one from the movie, which is more up here, and then there's kind of a goofier one, chicken sauté. I want chicken sauté.
That's pretty.
I'll show you Bang. Who's Bang now, Todd?
That's pretty amazing. So I got a question for you, because I know it's the after show. We do weird stuff.
Yep.
We talk about things. You mentioned when I scheduled you for this show that you were going to be taking a break from creating, and I was just curious if you wanted to talk about that, because I definitely understand it, for sure. It's You were mentioning, all the content that I put out there is the podcast and stuff. I actually don't just do a podcast. Like, that's why, like, I have a lot of different projects creatively that I do, and I try and dump them all on Patreon so that people can see all the things I do. But one of the things I was doing for like a solid year was like toy photography as well. And it kind of kicked my ass. Like at a certain point, I just needed a break. Like,
Right.
because I was doing it with a partner, and both of us just kind of agreed at the same time after we did about 52 weeks of that. We're like, can we take a break? And we meant it for it to be a 1 month break. But here we are 8 months later or 9
Right.
months later, and we're like, it's still a break. It's, so obviously we hit a wall, and I'm kind of feeling like maybe that story sounds familiar to you.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And it's because I had a business partner. We did shows. We did 3 shows every week, minimum, and sometimes it was more. Sometimes, but there was always 3 shows a week, and it was something that we produced and we put together. We stopped booking a local comedy club. We basically got our own place, and we're running all of that. And then it's when you're doing content creator, or for me, I'll just speak for myself as a comedian. I've been doing stand-up comedy for 25 years. And so the wheel never stops.
Yeah.
There's no off season. There's no, you know what I mean? It just never stops. It's what's next, on to the next show. There's no real time for like reflection or anything like that. And then you have these other ideas and these other projects, which you understand too. You go, okay, I got this podcast I want to do, or I got this other thing. Like I was doing a facial paralysis podcast. For those who don't know, I have facial paralysis. So I was doing that. And then there's only so much time that you have in the day. And like time is the only real currency that we all have, truthfully. And so you have to sit there and prioritize and go, okay, well, I have this podcast, and I have my shows, and I have this writing that I do for these other comedians. And then I have this, and like, what is paying the bills? Where is some money coming in? What is taking energy away creatively?
Yeah.
And so you just start to burn out when you get all these different projects. And so you have to kind of go, all right, well, is this working? One, am I passionate about it? And is it working? And, you get to that point where you go, all right, we're kind of spinning our wheels. Like that's kind of what happened with the stand-up comedy. It was like, it doesn't matter what I do on stage. Like, it doesn't matter. I can go on stage and get a standing ovation, and it doesn't matter. Like, people go home and they forget about me. I can go up there and, take a dump on stage, get booed off stage, and it doesn't matter. Like, I just show up the next night. Like, nothing changes within that career.
Yeah.
So unless you're doing things to further yourself, social media wise, getting on television or other avenues where you're going to have more exposure, it really doesn't matter. And I just get tired of doing, doing this room and these other shows and travel. Like I went to Minnesota in late January, which sucks.
Yeah.
It was minus 11 degrees, and you go and you barely break even. You usually will lose money, but you're just doing it so that you can get out there and be around, more exposure and all that sort of stuff. And you just go, hey, look, I don't want to deal with this. I don't want to deal with the traveling. I don't want to deal with being away from, my house. I don't want to deal with, all that sort of stuff. So you just kind of go, yeah, I need to take a break, because you just, like I said, that wheel never stops. And you do it 52 weeks. You're like, oh, okay. And it takes what was a passion and something you love, and it takes away the love and it turns it into a job that you're not getting paid for.
Yeah.
And then you go, yeah, I need a break. And that's kind of where I've hit. I'm just like, I have other things I want to do. I want to do music. I want to do, other types of content. I just want to do other things creatively. But I know that doing stand-up comedy just to do stand-up comedy isn't going to get me where I want to be with my goals. So I had to take a break, and I had to be like, we're going to stop. I'm not saying I'll never do stand-up comedy again. I have those skills. I have that knowledge. I understand the art. I understand the craft. I can use that in any of these other avenues. You know what I mean? So it's like, I can use that in music. I can use comedy in music. I can use comedy in sketches and in voice acting. And so, writing a cartoon, like that's one of the things I want to do. I want to write a cartoon, and I want to write an online comedy course that I can just put out there and just have that make passive income, hopefully, like take all that knowledge and that information and I can apply it elsewhere, just in a different creative format. You have all the knowledge of, comic books. You can take that and apply that elsewhere, if you don't want to do the, toy photography, you can take that and go, oh, I know this and I know that. And I can be an expert, and I can be whatever. I can counsel people on this thing.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what happened with me. I just burnt out, and you get tired of people. Oh, you were great. I would have paid money. I paid so much more money to see you. Okay, well, then pay me more money. And you just kind of go, after a while, I get tired of dealing with drunk people, so I stopped doing clubs because, well, don't you want people drunk to laugh more? No, I don't really. Because then, it's one of those things when you go to work, drunk people are the biggest thing for a comedian that will like make a bad day at work. You know what I mean? Like they're the problem. Like if you're working in an office and the copy machine breaks, like that's drunk people. Like, I got to deal with this. Like not allowing me to do my job. And so I just kind of, I don't know. So, are you replacing the toy photography with something else, or are you just kind of?
I'm actually going back to it soon. Like I've started kind of dipping my toes into it a little, and I kind of used Comic-Con as like a refresh for me, like because the thing about Comic-Con that I love, like it's my, if I've never made it clear, it is my favorite place on earth. Like it just I love it because it's a place where so many different types of fandoms converge and so many different types of opportunities converge. And so like, Ricky, like, for example, he loves the commercial aspect of it. Like he loves it. He's the one that puts together the news for this show. He likes to talk about products that corporations are selling to us, and he geeks out on it. He loves the behind the scenes. He loves to know how the contracts that are getting made to like bring in a Henry Cavill to another Superman or something like that. That's his thing. And I get it. I used to be into that stuff at a certain point, but eventually you get tired of just commercials in all aspects of your life, right? Like you don't want people to tell you what to buy. You just want to know, what you like, what you want. And like the reality is like I stopped going to those kind of things because it's like you're selling me something I'm already buying. What I mean? Like that's dumb. Do you think I'm not gonna watch a Marvel movie? Obviously you don't need me. And yeah, I get it. There's a camaraderie and there's like there's a crazy like Stockholm syndrome kind of thing where you're trapped in a room for like 8 hours. You all start crying at the end when a Black Panther trailer comes on and you're like, oh, I love you. It's amazing. It's a cool thing. Not for me. Not anymore. And so, but the cool thing is like there's something else. There's always something else. And so for me this year, I chose to like make this about, let's see what I can do with this thing, So like I actually, Lindsay and I got to go to an art market a few months, like about a month and a half ago, to start selling our art. And so I actually made prints of my toy photography, like some of my favorite prints. I didn't make a lot because I was like, I don't know what it's going to be like, but it was down in, like near the Little Italy area of San Diego. And we went there, and Lindsay's been really into like ceramics and doing a lot of digital art and sketching and stuff. So we piled up all our stuff into the van and took it down, and she sold a lot of cool things. That was really validating for her because like that was the first time somebody paid her money for these things she's created. Me, I realized when I was there, I was like, this might not be my target audience. It was a lot of moms. It was a lot of, it was a lot of people that were definitely down to buy ceramics, what I mean? And like not knocking them at all. I'm just like, I think me with my toys and my, my action figure poses and lighting, and it was definitely appreciated. Everybody was like, wow, this is so cool. because I made a portfolio for people to look through and
Right.
everybody like perusing it. But like, did I make a lot of sales? Nah.
Right.
Did I make a sale? Yeah, I did. And that was kind of
Nice.
cool.
Right.
That was cool to see, you know, okay, somebody does want to buy these things. So what we realize is like, well, if that's not my audience, who's my audience? And it's like Comic-Con's my audience, you know.
Right.
So we tried to, you know, like every year I do something different, and this year I tried to turn it into a I need a community. I need to build a community for myself of people that are into the things that I'm into, or that have knowledge about the things I want to do, you know, with this hobby or whatever. And so we just started going to like all these different panels that had to do peripherally with those things. So I got to meet other toy photographers, and I became friends with them on Instagram and stuff. And then I'm hitting them up for like advice and things like that. I got to meet people who are in the you know, toy community who actually make the toys, and like I got to learn ideas for like how to make income for, you know, like you can actually get sponsors from the companies that sell toys, because, you know, like you can have a link for in your bio that says, oh, if you like the toys that are in my picture, go here, and then you get that. So,
the affiliate links.
Yeah, the affiliate links. I tried affiliate links back in the day with Amazon, and that didn't go so well. But I think, you know, it's just about like, it was just about like learning a lot of other options I have, and also just like I said, building a community, because like my weird thing is like I love my friends, I love all the people that, you know, are in my life and stuff like, but I don't have a lot of friends that have this weird obsession with collecting plastic like I do. I just don't like it's just, I don't know. And so like sometimes you got to surround yourself with, you know, like, what iron sharpens iron, right?
Absolutely.
So it was just about me trying to find those people this time around, and I think I found a couple cool ones, and I got some cool advice, and so I've been just trying to like get the whole thing set up. I've been cleaning this room this week. But yeah, this weekend I'm just gonna go back at it and start doing things from a different point of view, and seeing what I can do with it, because it's like the people I showed my stuff to, they definitely thought it was good, you know, they thought it was cool, but it's not like you can't just take your toy photography to the toy photography store and say, would you like to buy my toy photography?
Exactly.
It's a very niche thing, and so it's not as niche as it used to be. It's actually a really popular thing nowadays on like social media. So yeah, but I'm reinvigorated because of Comic-Con, you know.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, because you mentioned that, and it kind of reminds me of, you know, for people don't know, we both have a background in gaming. E3, going to, you know, the E3 Expo, and you know, people would sit there and wait, you know, 4 hours, 5 hours, 8 hours to go see, you know, the new Metal Gear demo. And it's like, I'm going to buy it. Like, you don't have to sell me. I'm there. Like, I want to see it, but I'm not going to wait 8 hours when I can go see, you know, this other game or this other thing that I'm on the fence about and go learn some information. And so it's funny. I started going, you know, E3 was a 3-day event. And so I started going from 3 days. Then I'd start going down to 2 days. And then it was like 1 day. And then I would just go and just do like 1 or 2 laps. And then I would leave. And then I'm like, you know, I'm not going to go to E3 anymore, because it's just, you know, it's brutal. But it's the same kind of theory, you know, of like you're selling me, you know, what I need. I'm going to get this. So there's no point for me to waste my time. And then as far as finding like your niche, like that's great. You know, there's so much stuff on social media that you can, you know, just be that expert in. And, you know, Comic-Con's, again, that's a gathering of your people, your audience. And, you know, it might be interesting. Have you ever considered doing a game show? Because game shows are really popular now on like streaming live and that sort of stuff. So whether it's trivia, you know, calling the, you know, Marvel, you know, nerds or whatever, we're going to do a game show, and you get them all in StreamYard. That way they can't Google, they can't do whatever. And you just put up a little like game show format, and you just do some trivia and get your audience involved, get them kind of going. And so instead of just doing the trivia that you do for the co-host and the guest, make it like a game show one night, and just go, hey, we're going to do, you know what, we're going to do Marvel trivia, and these are the parameters. It's going to be based on, canon, or it's going to be based on phase 3, phase 4, whatever, however you want to set it up. And you just get a little more interaction and try to develop and build that fan base and just have the, coming into the show.
That's not a bad idea. Like, it is, like, the one trick with it is, like, I think what I've learned more is that, the more I've been away from the toy photography and the more I, like, there's other projects I have. Like, I'm working, like, I am working on a game with some friends, but it's not a video game. It's a card game.
Right.
It's like, we don't, because just the amount of overhead for a video game.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Like, but like, I do know card games really well too. So like, I've been like a consultant for the last year with do you remember Kelly? Kelly from work as well.
Mm-hmm.
Not your friend Kelly. I meant the guy.
Yes.
Yeah. He and I are consultants for a friend of ours that's developing a kids like game, a card game for kids so that's educational and fun and stuff like that. And so that's another project that we do, like, and we try to meet every other week. But when you're talking about time being your currency, yeah, man, like whenever that thing pops up, I'm like, oh yeah, I have this thing that I also have my toes into.
Yeah.
And then it used to be that I was making videos as well for toys, like toy review kind of videos.
Mm-hmm.
And so like
it was
the videos, it was the toy photography, it was the game development, and then it was the podcast. And like none of them were making me money, right? Like I mean, like but like all of them were things that I could put on Patreon, which could make me money and does make a little bit of money. You know what I mean? But yeah, it was definitely a thing where it's just like, these are too many things. And so it's not that I ended up only doing the podcast because it's my favorite thing. It's because it's the easiest thing.
Right.
Like the podcast is like, once you introduced me to StreamYard, I was like, this is easy.
Yeah.
I just made all those videos that we use, once. And I just, I can just use them over and over again, like to just, tweak them a little bit. So
right.
That, here's the intro for this week. Here's the spotlight for this week. But it's all the same stuff every week. And it's just about me showing up on Friday night to just talk nerdy, which is what I love doing anyway.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like,
right.
So that's why the podcast, I can't see it going away. Because like on its best days, it's not an inconvenience to me at all.
Right.
Was it an inconvenience when Ricky said, I can't do the show this week? Yeah, it was. But I'm not trying to make somebody do something that they don't want to do or isn't fun or whatever. So I'll keep going until it's just like, this is no fun anymore. You know what I mean? But like, but
you also have to have those. You have to have those other irons in the fire to see what's going to catch.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. And so that's the other reason this exists, is because if I do go back to making other types of videos and other types of content, eventually, the theory is when one of them catches, this will, you could be the person watching this in 2026 and saying like, but Denix Media is like a globally recognized product. I can't believe there was a time on July 29th, 2022, when him and Brian were talking about how they're struggling to make this thing work.
Right.
And thanks for watching, by the way. Appreciate it. You in the future.
That's
really
right.
Appreciate it. But no, it's a whole, I like having, this is like my me time, right? Like this is like when you worked with me that I needed to give myself a certain amount of time to just talk about all the nerdy shit and know that my job was paying me to do that, or they weren't really paying me to do that, but they couldn't stop me.
They were paying you while you did that.
Yeah. Exactly. And so when COVID happened, I was like, well, this is weird. I kind of need a place to talk about these things and stuff. And so and I have like a Slack group that I chat, I vent with and stuff like that. But like, it felt weird because it's like, again, like I said, like my friends don't necessarily like all the things I like. They try.
Right.
They try. Like my friends definitely try to keep up with the Marvel stuff because it's accessible, but like they can't go down as far the rabbit. Yeah, like,
Right.
I have Sentinels behind me that are about 4 feet tall, 3.5 feet tall, or something like that. That's a me thing, you know what I mean? Like
Right.
I don't know anybody that owns Sentinels
Well, it's like
outside of me, you know, like
all the Rubik's cubes over there. There's a collection of currently roughly about almost 40.
wow.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
So it's, it's one of those things
Yeah.
where but most people go, whatever, and you're like, oh, it's
Yeah.
kind of my thing. I like it. So
Yeah,
but
it's funny. But like one of the panels that we went to was like, and again, it was just, my wife is amazing, and she's always like finding like panels that I wouldn't even think of at Comic-Con to like go to like network, and she found one that was called "Got What It Takes to Be a Hardcore Collector." And I was like, I feel like that's just a dick measuring contest,
right?
You know, and it was for the most part, right? Like it was a bunch of guys that arbitrarily got chosen to be on this panel that aren't necessarily the best collectors ever, but they're the guys that are on that panel,
Right?
And they're because they know the right people to be
Right.
on that panel,
Right.
And so what they start doing is that when the panel starts, they're like, how many of you in the audience have 100 of something that you collect? And I obviously raise my hand, and a few other people do. And they're like, okay, cool. And then they're like, how many of you have like 200? And I raise my hand, but I raise my hand gimpily. So like, it's just, this is as high up as my hand's going to go.
Right.
And so they didn't happen to see my hand raise. And so they looked around, and I guess nobody else raised their hand. And they're like, whoa, no one else? Because they were kind of thrown off because this is a panel.
Right. On how to be.
They expect collectors to be there. And then they're like, well, okay, I guess that's fine. And they were like kind of bummed. But then somebody's like, no way, he raised his hand. And then Lindsay's like, yeah, he raised his hand. And they're like, oh, sorry. They're like, so what do you collect? And I was like, Marvel Legends. And they're like, how many do you have? And I was like, all of them. like all. And the whole audience was just like, it was like a hush,
Yeah,
and a gasp, and it was really funny to me because I was like, yeah, I think it's like 900 or something figures, something like that. Like I ended up checking after Comic-Con, it's 1,100. I have 1,100 action figures that are all in 6-inch scale. It's I can't stop it. Like, Woody, you stop at 1,100? You
can't.
You're just that far, so but what it was really funny is it made me realize a lot of things, like about, okay, I do have a really, really impressive collection here. I have things that most people would dream of having that they just can't have. And the reason I didn't really understand how impressive that was is because I don't surround myself with people that understand what it took to amass this collection. And that's no knock at my friends.
Right.
My friends totally respect that I have this collection. They just don't understand it. You know what I mean? And so
I totally get what you're saying.
Yeah. And so I just when I did that, I was like, holy shit, I need to be on the other side of this panel next year.
Exactly.
Right? Because I made these guys shit their pants. You know what I mean? So, and I need to not only do this panel, I need to do other panels, because why is there not a panel on disabled creators in the comic and nerd, community going on?
Right.
Why is there not a panel on toy photography? Why is that? There was not a panel for that.
Right.
You know what I mean? And so I'm like, all I have to do is actually start hustling on this toy thing more, which is clearly my passion.
Right.
And start taking time away from the other things that are just me dicking around. You know what I mean?
Right.
So, yeah.
Well, yeah, and then you can reach out to the organizers and say, hey, look, here's this. And, if you're going to do a collector's thing, reach out to people who did the collector one. Go, hey, I have, 1,100 Marvel Legends. would love to be in the panel. Like
Yeah.
and you-
The panel was really funny because there was like a bunch of people that have like all chosen a specific thing, like
right,
I'm the Transformers guy, I'm the Lego guy, I'm
Right.
this guy, like, but then there's this one oddball that I just gotta assume is like Guinness World Records, like he's got wealth coming from somewhere that is undisclosed.
right,
But like apparently this guy is single, never been married, never had kids. He has 4 bedrooms filled with toys, and he has no prejudice against any type of toy. He collects any and all toy that he feels has value as a toy, collects them all, and lets them collect dust in these 4 bedrooms. And then on top of that, goes to even further to explain that he once bought a semi truck just so that he could paint it red to look like Optimus Prime. He owns 2 DeLoreans.
wow.
Like,
Yeah, he's got some money coming from
right.
somewhere.
He's got money. Like
He's
I'm
got
not.
money.
I don't know what he's doing, but like I was like, we need to make this guy shut up because this guy is like you're not even an attainable thing. It's like having Jeff Bezos as
Right.
your like young business entrepreneurs
Exactly.
panel. You know what I mean? Like, what are you doing? Like, this
Yeah.
is stupid. So
You need to get him on the show. Is what you need to do.
I guess so. Yeah, I should probably stop ragging on him right now and instead say, so this is awesome guy that was at the panel, and he owns all.
Yeah,
this.
no, get him on the show.
Yeah,
That's just get in that circle. They always say you are the sum of like the 5 closest people around you.
yeah, exactly. And so like the cool thing was I had a conversation with the toy photographer guy that was in that panel. They had one guy that was his thing, because like the other, part of the discussion of the panel was like, okay, like how do you support this habit? You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
and some people it's just like one guy's an aerospace engineer, and that okay,
Yep, that will
got it. You
Yep.
go, you work a 9 to 5. You don't necessarily love that, but then you go home and you play with Legos until you fall asleep. I get it. That's
Right.
actually what a lot of people do with their collecting hobbies. That's what I did at PlayStation. Make no mistake, I love video games. I really
Right.
did. But like when I worked on video games for 9, 10, 12 hours a day, I came home to play with my toys because I didn't want to play video games anymore.
Right.
Like that job makes it hard to play video games for fun outside of it.
Absolutely, because you just focus, and it also makes you negative because that's all
Yeah.
you're doing is looking for faults. You're
Yeah.
looking for bugs. You're looking for oh, that just that clip right there. That look at the frame rate. And so yeah, it seeps into your life, and you just start seeing everything through a negative prism of that. So it's rough.
It is rough. So, but I made friends with the toy photographer that was there. I mean, I wasn't sure that I made friends, but while I was talking to you, I double checked, and I did. No, because because here's what happened. He's a toy photographer guy. I asked him. I wanted some input, like some advice, and he was really happy to give it to me. Right, and like so we met. We went outside of the panel out in the hallway, and we chatted for like another 30, 40 minutes. Right.
Wow.
And while our wives just kind of like chatted with each other because they
Right.
could tell we were doing a thing. I showed him my portfolio. Like he took some of my art because he really liked it. We exchanged follows on Instagram, and it was cool. It was magical. I was like, I did the thing. I did the thing that I set out to do. Is I met a guy that can help and stuff. And so like it was really funny because like there was like this weird like I had to follow these weird like social etiquette rules for the days that followed. Right. I'm like, how much should I text him? Like, what I mean? It's like after you just met a girl at a bar and you're like, I don't want to come on too strong. So then I kind of texted him, like, I think I texted him like a day or two later saying, hey, I met you at that thing. I was like, that was really fun. Did you happen to order all the Marvel Legends that Hasbro put out the other day? Like, cause they made us, they did pre-orders on like the Saturday of Comic-Con. I'm like, I'm at Comic-Con, bro, but you got me. I'll stop Comic-Con for 10 minutes and I'll just sit outside in the freaking outside the convention center with shitty Wi-Fi.
Yep.
And I will order my toys because that's what I do. But, I asked him that and he's like, oh, it was a pleasure to meet you, blah, blah, very formality and stuff. And we just chatted a little bit here on Sunday, and then a little bit on Tuesday. And then I was like, I think this is good enough. And now I'm going to drop the bomb on him. And so
I'm going to ask him to go steady.
Yeah, right? No, so today I was like, hey, man, I'm going to apologize if this is like way TMI, but like I'm trying to get advice on my setup for lighting and stuff. And so like I basically just I gave him Amazon links to every single type of photography light that I have at my disposal. I have like way too many lights. Like Lindsay's been really kind to give me all these different lights throughout the years. I have too many. And so like, I was like, here's all my lights. Here's the picture of my setup. What am I doing wrong? Or what could I do better? And like, and I spent all day just like, is he going to reply or did I scare him off? Like, you know what I mean? Like that's literally how I felt. Cause I was like, I made a friend at Comic-Con and I'm like, is he gone? And then eventually I just kind of got to the point where I'm like, you know what, Dennis, chill out. You got a podcast to do. Put your phone away. Go prep for the show. And the guy's busy, whatever. But like, I just 10 minutes ago, I was talking to you. I loaded up, and he actually did respond. And so I'm like, there you go. Cool. I now have a person in my community that can help me and understands what I want to do and what I'm doing and all these things. And so,
well, and it's probably on his end, he's probably excited too, because he probably doesn't have a lot of people who are interested in toy photography, and to have someone else to share that with, like, you meet those people with like interests. And again, you said it's a very niche, thing. So he's probably excited to be like, yeah, let's talk, let's talk about lighting, where most people would be like, I'm good.
I didn't understand that.
I appreciate, and you know what I appreciate about you, Brian, is that you listen to all that story. Like you just took that all. That was great. I felt very heard, and
good.
And I don't feel that I need to make you understand toy photography to understand that I felt understood,
Yes. So good. Well, because I understand it from other aspects. So it's just one of those things. And, I'm rooting, like, because I'm in the same boat, and so it's like, go for what you want to do, go for what you love, go for the passions. And I'm rooting for success. Like my business partner and I, we stopped doing comedy and he started doing acting. And in less than 2 months, he got signed with the second biggest casting agency in the country. And I just talked to him today, and he just landed a spot on Barry, the TV show Barry.
Nice.
And he's going to be filming that in a couple of weeks. And like he did that in under 2 months, and I was just like, I joked with him. I said, you're doing this 2 months and you have a bigger credit now than in 15, 17 years of doing stand-up. So clearly he made the right choice, Yeah. But, so like I'm all about that. Like I'm all about like, go do your thing, be, love what you do and chase your passions. And if you can make a living at it, then that's the best,
Yeah. That's all I want to do is just I want to do something that feeds the hobby. You know what I mean? Like that, like they can pay for that hobby and then like also like partially help pay the bills,
right? So
that I don't have to feel like I don't like when I feel a sense of guilt at my collection. You know what I mean? I never felt a sense of guilt while I was collecting it when I was at PlayStation because I was making enough money to like easily pay for this, and then I just be like, yep, that's my collection. But then once I didn't have that job anymore and I still kept buying the collection, I'm like, well, I'm not going to stop, you know what I mean?
Right.
So, but it's fine for now. But I'm encouraging the same for Lindsay too, is like, I'm trying to help her build that community because like she's trying to be around more artists and stuff like that, which is really cool too, because, in a sense, like if I'm doing toy photography, like all of these artists when I go out with her, they're insisting that I'm an artist now too, and
Right.
it's like, okay, I'm not used to calling myself that.
It's a different
but
medium. That's all. Some
Yeah.
people do pastel. Some people do, oil color, water,
Yeah,
clay.
yeah,
So it's,
but it's a very different thing to like invest in yourself and invest in selling yourself to
Right.
like and the craft or whatever it is. But you know that I don't have to
I
tell
do.
you that.
Yeah. Like
it's
I'm
weird.
getting into voice acting
Yeah.
again. So it's like, all right, I have to go take some more acting classes because it's been a while, and work on that. Get the right.
But it's part of the reason why I do this too, because
Yeah.
this makes it easier for me because I still have to sell myself to the audience, in a certain way, and so I never want to lose that skill of like
Right.
being able to chat and shoot the shit with people about the things that are interesting to me, or also the things that are interesting to them too. So
Right.
yeah.
Well, this is kind of, you had basically the Super Bowl last week of that industry. So, you go, okay, it's almost like a new year, new cycle. And that's pretty exciting.
Yeah. The cool thing I took from it is like, I actually made myself take notes after the convention was over on like what worked, what didn't work, and what were like the lessons I learned from each day.
Right.
Because like I really wanted to come away with things, and like so it was really cool because I learned little things every day that I just never really had bothered to like think about. Okay, like aside from all the things I want to do with toy photography, we went to the art show. There's an art gallery, like
Okay.
it's like people can submit their art to just be shown at, like, it used to be in the convention center, but it's so big now that they don't use the space there for that anymore. So they moved it over to the Hyatt. Like there's a room
Right.
where you can go look at the art, and it could be kids, it could be like 60-year-old people, whatever. They just submit their art. But like the cool thing is like they have the option of putting a price tag on it, and so if people attending Comic-Con happen to walk by, see it, and like it, they can get in contact with you and pay you money.
Right.
It's the exact same thing as the art fair at the county fair.
Right.
Have you gone to the county fair?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, same thing, right? And so when I was there, I was like, okay, action item. Like, there is no good goddamn reason that next year I am not selling art at both Comic-Con and the county fair.
Right.
Because why not? Like,
right.
It's a massive audience, like both of them. Like, did you know that the county fair is like actually one of the biggest ones in America?
Oh, wow.
I didn't know that until I was like reading about it like a few weeks ago, and I was like, huh, that's crazy. It's pretty ridiculous. I went there. I can't believe I didn't get COVID. I was literally, Lindsay and I were the only people wearing masks at the entire thing.
It's so crazy.
It's nuts. Yeah.
Yeah.
Comic-Con, everybody was wearing masks. So that was cool.
That's good.
Which is probably why I did it for 5 days and I'm still absolutely healthy. So cool, I guess. But
yeah.
Have you caught it yet, by the way?
I have not.
Good for you.
Knock on wood. Yeah, I try to be cautious and careful and stay away from people. So when I was doing shows, I wouldn't do all the handshaking and all of that stuff. Or if I did, I had, immediately just disinfect the hands and all that sort of stuff. But I was worried about it for a while, and then I was like, I double vax, boosted, all that sort of stuff, and just tried to be smart about it.
Yeah.
Just and then, like I said, my buddy and I basically just started doing our own thing. So it was our mic. It was our, didn't have to worry about the night before with a bunch of stupid open micers just breathing into the mic and, doing all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, the mics. I didn't even.
Yeah.
Sorry. I didn't even think about the mics. Ooh.
Yeah. We used to, when we first started coming back, we'd wipe them down in between comics, and we'd have like 2 different mics. So one would bring it off, and then they'd wipe it down, and the next person would bring it up, plug it in, and that was crazy. That was I really, it's gonna sound weird. I loved COVID. I loved the pandemic.
Yeah,
not doing anything. like I said, that cycle, just having that cycle stop, that never ending wheel for
Yeah.
a year and a half, just being like,
Well, that's how I started doing the photography stuff. Is just like, well, I'm at no greater disadvantage than everybody else right now. So like,
right,
why not try this weird thing that like, you know, a handful of people are doing? And so like, that's what, like, I reached out to, you know, my friend Nas. I think you know Nas. And I knew that it was something he'd been dabbling with. I follow him on Instagram, and I see every now and then he's got some pictures, you know, that he's like putting out there, and
right,
his handful of like, you know, 30 friends are like liking it. But
right.
I could tell the same thing, where he doesn't know a lot of people that are into it. And I'm like, why don't we do this together so we can like fuse the two and make it look more normal, because two
Right.
of us are doing it, you know what I
Right.
mean? So, and so yeah, that's what we did. But like, I always felt bad because he's like got kids, and you know, like he's got like, he still had that job at PlayStation, and so like he's got all these extra responsibilities. So I'm just like over here creating like what I consider masterpieces. And he's just like, what time do we got to have this done? I was like, all right, you can have it done by Tuesday morning, okay?
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it was just something cool to do during, like, I had so much energy at the start of that pandemic, you know?
Yeah.
Like, but once you get past, like, after year one of pandemic, you're like, we're still doing this? Like, that's when it got weird. That's, yeah.
Well, it's funny. I just am slowly becoming a supervillain. That is like, as a person, fair. Like the more I deal with people, the more I'm like, yeah, I get why they want to get rid of a lot of people. Like I even wrote a bit about it, just, you know, that I love, you know, superhero movies, and I love the villains, and my favorite things are the origin stories. And I think they need more realistic ones. And so like the joke was like, hey, you know, what happened? Did he fall in a vat of acid? It's like, no, he worked in retail for 2 years, you know, like that sort of stuff. And so like
seriously,
I'm starting to get that feeling of like, I'm rooting for the asteroid. Like I'm just rooting. I am no more team humanity. I'm team asteroid all the way. Just come wipe everybody out. Yeah. Just, you know, but it's funny though. Now I'm like I wrote a Christmas song. Like a real legitimate Christmas song. Like I was like,
was
okay,
it Mariah Carey's sequel?
It is
that one. That's
yes, it is.
It's pretty good. It's not as good as her first one, but
no.
I mean,
but I'm hoping we're just finishing up some of the tracks and stuff, and we're gonna have it out, and like, but I'm doing these other things now, and I'm like, that's kind of the stuff I want to do. I just want to find some more stuff creatively, and just, you know. I am working on a board game as well based on comedy, so it's like I'm almost like a Jackbox game, but in a card based.
I had a game that in the first year that I was working on with my friend and Lindsay, and it was an idea for a game for the voice agents, like
okay,
the Amazon or the, you know, or Google, whatever. And like it was also a kid's game, and like the reason I was pairing up with my friend is because he's in the education business. So like we were basically coming up with this idea of like, let's just make a game that like occupies your kids while they're sitting at home during COVID.
Right.
That they can go talk to the Echo for, you know, 20 minutes and inject, you know, some of my comedy into there, like some of my brand of humor and stuff.
Yeah.
And we were doing that. We were trucking along. We even we recorded a whole sample, like, you know, episode of the game. And it just got to the point where it's like, okay, who's going to program this?
Right.
I was like, well, I guess I could try to learn since I don't have a job. And like, oh man, that's immediately when it got not fun.
Right.
It's like when I was trying to learn how to do like program for voice agents, I was like, okay, I think I don't want to do this anymore.
Yeah. You basically have to find somebody and bring them in on board with the
and
money
pay them. And
yeah, exactly.
Like that. So it's a game that I mean, we still have the prototype. It exists somewhere, but like, it's just that was the first thing that I said no to, because like
Yeah.
I was starting to feel pulled in a lot of different directions, because I was really enjoying the photos, and I was enjoying the podcast and the videos and all these different things, and I'm like, this one has to go. And then I think it was just like a domino thing. Like after I started culling one thing,
Right.
I'm like, what about this thing? And what about this? Because I just ran out of energy, like
Right.
it was. And so eventually I'm just like, I guess I just talk with my friends on Friday nights. Like,
Yeah.
So I need to figure out more things to do so that Lindsay doesn't kill me.
Exactly.
But yeah, it's we're working on it. But I at least appreciate that, like, I've convinced her to also be like an artist with me now too. So now we're just two starving artists.
There you go.
Yeah, so it feels a little better. But yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm quite surprised Ricky never showed up. He must have had a rough day.
Mm.
I was very shocked about it. But if you want to lighten the mood, I would like to know, do you have any voices you've been working on?
Truthfully, no.
Your Bane's pretty good, by the way.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate it. Because there are the two different. And if you want to do the live action Bane, it's Sean Connery.
So you take Sean Connery.
And then take away the accent and then raise the pitch just a little bit.
The fire rises.
And then just cut your
fire rises.
They expect to find one of us in the wreckage, my brother.
So yeah,
I freaking love that movie. I know people don't like that movie.
I liked it. So
I think he's amazing in that movie. He's way better in that than he is in Venom.
Yeah,
that I promise you.
Okay. Okay, I'll check. Well, I'm looking forward to that.
I just realized. So you watched No Way Home? Did you watch the post-credit scene?
I did.
Be like, what is this?
Yes.
It's like the one time they're ever putting Tom Hardy in the MCU.
Yeah.
Oh, that was awkward.
So it's interesting. But yeah, I'm trying to think of like what voices that I've been. I started to do a little Jeff Goldblum. Like I start to like get into them, and then I'm like, oh, this is so much work.
Your Jeff Goldblum almost sounds like Johnny Carson.
That is a weird, wild stuff.
Yeah.
And yeah, if I take the earbuds out, it's a little easier for me to hear. But
gotcha.
So, but yeah, I still can't do Gollum, which enrages me to this day. I'm like, I would trade them all for Gollum. I would trade all the voices for Gollum. Like,
what's your most successful TikTok, and are you surprised by it?
My most successful. Well, here's the weird part. Has nothing to do with comedy.
Exactly. That's what I was gonna say.
Right? Did you see that one? Okay.
Oh, is it the
Justin Bieber?
Justin Bieber one?
Yeah.
I realized I knew the answer right after I asked you.
Yeah. So that one. So my Family Guy one got about 82, 85 something thousand views, which I thought was phenomenal. Yeah. So most of them are like 200 or 2,000. Like a good one's like 2,000 views, and then I did this thing about Justin Bieber, who, if you don't know, I got Ramsay Hunt syndrome. That's what Justin Bieber has. And so I put out a video just saying, hey, here's kind of what he can expect. And that thing just took off. And that's got, I think last time I checked, 165,000.
You got interviewed for a local news station too, right?
I got interviewed for a local news station. And then I also got interviewed for Voice of America, which is this global, like 85 countries and whatever, and they did a new segment on me for that too. Just to
like have an expert speak on what's going on with just the Biebs.
Yep, the Biebs. So thanks, Biebs.
That's pretty funny.
Yeah,
he's just gonna throw money at that and be totally fine, right? Like money that you didn't even know you could throw at things.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I mean, there's certain things that
it's like Magic Johnson, man. It's like.
You don't have HIV anymore? Like what? How's that?
Like, he tests negative. Like he tests negative for
it's crazy.
Like that's what?
What?
Like
At the very least, I'm just glad that, I'm not glad that he got it, but at least there's someone
Awareness,
big that
right?
can shine a light on it more than
Yeah,
I could.
yeah.
So,
That's cool, man.
yeah,
That's
it's
cool.
interesting. And so now when I would say it on stage, I can go like, oh, like Justin Bieber, and people go, oh, okay, I know what he's sort of talking about.
No, the reason I asked the question is because I always see your whenever you put out like the comedy ones and stuff with the voices and things.
Yeah.
I always see those TikToks because they show up in my feed. But like what I thought was funny is like because Lindsay makes some TikToks sometimes too.
Okay.
She likes to like record herself doing her drawings or her ceramics or things like that. And she thought it was really funny because like there was one time because we got like a little aquarium.
Okay.
And there was one time she just put the phone in front of the aquarium and just recorded it, right? And like that's like the number one fucking video. Like she can't surpass that. Like no matter all this creative shit she does. And no, people like looking at the goddamn empty ass aquarium with with plants flowing in the water. You know what I mean? Like
it's that you have just described social media to a T. It's like you put all this time and effort and passion and crafting this thing, and you go, "Oh, this is going to be great," and then it gets like 3 views, and then somebody's cat farts, and it gets like 70 billion views, and you just go, I don't know anymore.
Yeah, no, it's funny because I always, the poor woman, she always has to hear my first opinion on any nerdy thing ever, right? She chose to marry me, and that's unfortunate for her. That I have all these opinions first thing in the morning when I read things, whatever. And she's always like, you should just record yourself talking about those things. And so like, and I never do. I just wait. I just save it all for Fridays, but at Comic-Con, like I was at the Hasbro panel and they did a thing on that Ghost Rider, oh, they're teasing you a Ghost Rider thing. And so we were having lunch in the van because that's how we were preventing COVID is we would actually go downstairs to our car and eat in the car. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
It was weird. But so I'm just sitting in my car eating like my lunch and she's like, you should just go on TikTok right now and just tell them your opinion of that panel you went to. And I was like, really? I'm just like here eating like chips and a sandwich. And you want me to just do that? And she's like, do it or I'll kill your mother. And I was like, that's your mother-in-law, right. I was like, fine, I'll do it. And so like I just recorded myself and like so I just got out of that panel. Ghost Rider, huh? I just said some few things and I'm like, is that what you want me to do? And she's like, well, I'm just glad you did it. And I was like, yeah, that's like 20 views or something like that. It's like nobody cares. Nobody wants to see my ass just sitting in my van, like in my dark van, eating chips and like talking about a Ghost Rider toy that may or may not exist. I don't know how to crack the code on the algorithms, but I just know that it's the less you try, the more successful you'll be.
Yeah. It's either you have to be informative. Yeah. Like, here's how to get famous on TikTok. And like those will all blow up. Or, it has to be like, here's, maybe for you, it's, ways to tell a good collectible or whatever, certain things. But it either has to be some sort of information. But yeah, you just try something and you just go, I don't know what what you want. You just have to just be you. I think you just have to kind of, and that's been a really hard lesson for me because for many years I've been like, I don't like who I am on stage. I really don't because it's not entirely who I am. It's a side of me, but it's not. It's a very one-dimensional side of me. And I was like, I want to do this.
Performative, right? Like,
yeah,
you're giving people what you think they want of you.
Yes, and I did that with a lot of things. And then, like, my dry bar came out, and I got a bunch of hate comments, and I was just like, all right, well, I was doing this to kind of please you guys, so all right, I guess I won't worry about that. And then during COVID and all the craziness that's politically that happened with all of that and all that nonsense, and I was like, do I even want you to be my fans. Like,
Yeah.
no, I don't care at all. So why am I confining myself and just, putting myself in this box so that I don't
Yeah.
bother you? Like, this is
it's-
stupid.
It's really funny that you say that because, like, there's a lot of people. I don't even have to go look at it to know. There's a lot of people that have their own podcasts talking about Marvel, right? Like, there's a lot. But like, Ricky and I take a very positive approach because it's like it's really easy to hate. It's really easy to be like the expert comic guy that is like, oh, I hate this change they did in the movie because like it doesn't fit with the comic and all these things.
Right.
And like, I just am totally opposed to that entirely. For what I was saying earlier in the other show, right, is like the whole reason I loved comics, like Marvel Comics, was What If, because like I always wanted to see a different spin on a story,
Right.
And that's how I view the MCU. It's like I don't view the MCU as the holy like Bible of Marvel.
Right.
I see it as Marvel getting another test run at onboarding an entirely new audience, right? Like, because they failed to do it all the other times with with all the other media, but there's moviegoers, right? And moviegoers like a certain type of flavor and stuff like that. So I'm never gonna really hate on them. Like that was kind of one of the other reasons that like it was I was okay with Frank when he left, because Frank was getting really jaded because he is that guy. He is that guy that cares about like, the content of those movies, and he wants it to feel more like, I get it. I totally get it. I'm not saying as somebody who invested 20, 30 years of your life buying these comics, reading them, that you don't feel like, you're owed a little bit of being rewarded for that commitment. Like, I get it. I just don't see it that way. I see it as like, yeah, they can do whatever the fuck they want, and I'm cool. Like, as long as it's not a stupid story, I'll check it out and I'll be cool with it. And what's really funny is like, on paper, Ricky and I are doing a show that's for Marvel, people who are interested in Marvel and Marvel fans and stuff like that. But the funniest thing I've noticed over the year and a half is every now and then when we get a rando that comes on our show and wants to use it as a place to talk to a fellow Marvel nerd, they'll be like, I have an unpopular opinion and I'd like to share it here. And I'll be like, please do. And so they type all their shit, and it's like a 3-paragraph thing on why they don't like what Marvel's doing because blah, 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 blah. And every time that happens, I shit on those people so hard. Because I'm like, you basically you need to lighten the fuck up. You know what I mean? Like, lighten up, man. Like, it's okay. Like, you don't have to like it, but like, understand that a lot of people do, and that's why they keep doing it, because they're making billion-dollar movies. Like, they're making $1 billion. It's nice that you don't like it, but guess what? They found a whole new group of people to do, and you need to be okay with once again being on the outside, just like you were when you started reading those comics. You know what I mean?
Well, it's like that with the Lord of the Rings Ring of Power. Like, I don't know if you're a Lord of the Rings guy or not.
I like the Lord of the Rings, the 3 books.
Yeah.
I like those. I also like The Hobbit. Do I want anything else beyond those? No.
You don't want the Silmarillion, no?
No, I don't want the Silmarillion. I didn't even watch the Hobbit movies because I don't believe that a 200-page book should ever be turned into 3 movies.
It was bad.
Yeah.
For me, anyway. I did. It was, they were just like, okay, let's shove more stuff in here. But I have friends who are like, diehard Lord of the Rings, like read all the appendices and read everything, and like I'm just excited for, I've read the books, I read Lord of the Rings, I read The Hobbit, I haven't read all the other stuff, and so I'm excited for the show because it just gives me that world again. And they're like, yes, but this is, and they're just telling me all the things that couldn't possibly be, and the showrunners of this and that. And I'm like, well, they have 1,000 years, and they even said we have to kind of compress some of it. Otherwise, it's going to be a very boring, build up because it's 1,000 years. Like you need to bring some of the characters in the timeline together, and they're all just freaking out. And it's like, well, it's not true to the book. I mean, not even to mention the stupid racist people. Like, oh, they weren't black hobbits, and they weren't, like go away, just go away. Turn on your cell phone because they didn't used to have cell phones either. So if you want things the way they always were, then
the people that get mad at the MCU because there's all these new characters that are embracing, like female audiences and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I'm like, the fact that you named it the MCU, get the fuck out of here. Get out of here.
They're opening up this world.
Why don't you want people to like things? Like, I don't understand. Like, it's hard.
It's like they're opening up this whole new world to a whole group of people, which is going to probably bring you more content of that thing that you love.
Exactly.
Stories, characters, all these other things that are fleshing out. Like if all the, if the Marvel movies flopped, there wouldn't be this. You wouldn't have, the Loki series, and you wouldn't have, all these things that you're enjoying. So let it come in, and sure, it's not exactly, it's like with games. People are like, I didn't like that because I didn't like the way the game ended. Well, they didn't write the story for you. Like the game was amazing. Like Lord of the Last of Us 2. A lot of people were really upset over that. And I didn't like the story. Oh, too bad. Like, just because it wasn't specifically the way you wanted it, you're gonna, crap all over this thing. The game's amazing. Anyway,
you know why I don't like Last of Us 2?
Why is that?
Because that game forces you to hold the L2 button to run all the time.
Ooh,
and I think that is the least convenient button to hold while you're running, and you have to hold it all the time to run.
Yeah.
And I wrote a bug letting them know that it is the least accessible button because the triggers push back, right?
Right.
Remember, I'm like,
right.
So it's a lot of strain you're putting on your hands, let alone my hands. You know what I mean? And I wrote it up as like a games accessibility kind of bug.
Mm-hmm.
And they totally just waived that shit. And then what I thought was super funny is that every Naughty Dog game after that has gotten giant critical acclaim for all of their accessibility features.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
that was you.
Good way to not do that on The Last of Us, guys. Like, but like they're like, there's other reasons I don't like that game, but it's not the story. I think the story's great. I just think the fact that I got really tired of seeing the same death animations over and over again. I got tired of like the 4 monsters that you fight in the whole game.
Right.
There's so many things. I actually was on the speedrun crew of that game.
Okay.
So I can beat that game really fast. And like that's why I got so angry at the run button.
Gotcha.
Because, like I have to run constantly. I can haul ass through that game to the point where it's definitely not scary. It's like it's not scary, but it's but it is a great game. It is.
But again, you're coming at it from the tester perspective. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Which again, you'll find plenty of reasons to not enjoy a game. You find plenty.
Yeah. I had to beat it in an hour and a half, like 5 times a day. What the hell?
Exactly. Yeah, I'm good. I'm good with that game. But I just, people in general, well, this didn't, I think it should have ended this way. And it's like, well, then write your own effing game.
Right? That's the thing. That's what Lindsay's always saying too. Is like, I wish all of these people that get so mad at Marvel stuff would just spend less time complaining and just go write their own things. You know what I mean? Like
go write your own fan fiction. Go ahead.
So, for me, I just enjoy the ride at this point. Like, I cared a lot before Endgame. Like, I really I wanted, because my thing is like it's the phases are actually different phases of my life now, because like in the first phase of Marvel, the first it was Iron Man 2, the Hulk, Captain America, Thor, all leading up to the Avengers.
Right.
I needed those movies to be good because like I needed other people who don't read comics to understand why I like these things.
Right.
And then so when Avengers happened and the world lost their shit, I was like, thank God. Thank
Right.
God. You know, like now we
It
can start having,
normalizes you a little bit.
yeah,
Yeah.
now we can start having conversations. And so then the you know that movie ends with like the little tease of Thanos, and you know, like I'm like, okay, now people want to know what Thanos is. And so
Right.
then phase 2 is like, all right, now you guys get to watch them build to
Right.
something, because now I understood what they were building to. And so phase 2 is like the building the complexities of it. And so while Age of Ultron is not a great movie, it sets up everything that happens afterwards, right?
Right.
It sets up Ragnarok, it sets up Wakanda,
Yeah.
Civil War, all these different stories it sets up. And so I think that movie actually gets better with age, you know, like with every movie that comes out after it. That's a weird thing that only Marvel movies do. Like normally a movie that's shitty doesn't get better because of 40 other movies, you know, but somehow they do it.
Yeah.
But yeah, that second phase was just all about like, all right, now I'm watching people who are now interested, like they're learning, oh, okay, oh, there's a Spider-Man now. Oh, there's a Black Panther. What's going on? And
Right.
then it got to that Infinity War moment. And I was so freaking excited for Infinity War because like I had a very short laundry list of things that I needed to see happen. And at the top of that list, I was like, I want Spider-Man to die.
Yeah.
And everybody's like, what? What? Why do you want Spider-Man to die? He's your favorite guy. And I was like, yes, that's why. Because I want everybody to know what it feels like when you're reading comics. And everybody dies in comics all the time. And then they come back, you know, a million times over. But like, I want everybody to know what it feels like when the most popular one dies.
Right.
And I needed that. And I wanted the movie to end with Thanos snapping. I just knew, because I knew they split it into 2 parts. And I just wanted it so badly to be the Empire Strikes Back of the Marvel Universe. And man, I literally was the only person in the theater smiling when Spider-Man dies. I was like, yes! I was like, yes! Yes, the whole audience was crying and gasping and like, no! You know, like, and I was just like, that was it. That was my peak. I'm good.
Yeah.
And then I said to myself, I'm like, you know what? I'm going to stop demanding things of them after this one, because I know there's no way in hell they're going to resolve this in a way that's going to satisfy everyone.
Right.
But like in this moment, collectively, for this moment in time, the whole world is super pissed off at Thanos. Right. And like, and like, that's, I gotta believe that's how it was. Like when you watched Empire Strikes Back in the theaters, you were just like, what? You can't end like that, you know? Like,
right.
And so like, it was just really fun to see how much that hurt people. And, you know, and I know that we all knew that Endgame was only a year away. So that was really nice that we only had like 12 months to wait and stuff. Or you had an hour to wait.
Yeah, exactly. Basically, just go to the next one.
But you know, that was, I knew that whatever Endgame did, it was gonna be a lighter tone. It was gonna be the happy ending to make everybody feel good. And I was like, whatever happy ending they put on this, it's somebody's gonna be pissed at it.
Right.
Like it's impossible to satisfy everybody. So I just said after Infinity War, from now on, I'm just gonna enjoy what they give and be happy with it, because it's like, it's not the comics. It's not. It's just it hasn't been the comics for so long, and it never will anymore. But that's fine, because like I don't collect the comics anymore because it was a pain in the ass, dude. Like it's like,
well, it's like a band. You can have like Van Halen, you can have the original Van Halen, you can have Van Hagar, and you know, like you can still love both, and they're just different.
Yeah,
and you can still
Yeah, no, it's totally that, or even Journey or
Yeah,
Queen or whatever
right.
like that. But like I've made that argument before on this show is like the funniest thing about comic book nerds is like show me the comic book nerd that's actually read Spider-Man from the beginning all the way till now and can't honestly admit that there's giant inconsistencies among Peter Parker throughout every decade. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Right.
That comic started in 1962. This is the 60th anniversary of Spider-Man this
Crazy.
year. There's no way that Peter is the same Peter
No.
every decade. You know what I mean? Like, and so like what it is the reality is like when you think you're an expert at a character or a comic or whatever, you're an expert for that time period that you loved watching it or reading it and stuff like that.
Plus,
so like
it would get so boring. 60 years of the same character. You know what I mean? Like it's good to have little variations and this is a little more aggressive. This is a little more whatever. You know, like stuff gets old after a while.
Yeah, and that's why like it's funny to me because like I used to get really I used to laugh and reject the idea of like fan fiction. But then one day I realized in my head, I logicked it out and I said, you know what? That's kind of weird that I'm so against fan fiction because like in reality, every comic that was written by somebody other than Stan Lee in Marvel is a goddamn fan fiction. Like everything that he created, I mean that he wrote. I'm not saying he created. Like somebody else drew that shit and is partially very much responsible for how that character looked. But anytime any two other writer and artists come in on Spider-Man, that's fan fiction, man.
Yeah,
like it's not unless Stan Lee is literally signing off on all of it. It's not his story anymore, and it's but that's the beauty of comics, and that's the beauty of the MCU is it's a game of popcorn, right? Like it's a game of popcorn. So like honestly, like just because you don't like Ant-Man the first one, doesn't mean you'll hate the second one. To be fair, you will hate it. But bad example, but it's a game of popcorn because they don't always get the same people to come and direct and write and do those things, and they change writing staff throughout the process.
Well, like the two Suicide Squad movies, like
woof, that's the fiercest game of popcorn ever, man.
Yeah,
like,
you know, like two very different tones.
I don't know if you've heard about like how that one went down, but basically Warner Brothers was so desperate or so happy that James Gunn was going to do a Suicide Squad movie. They basically were down for him to not use anything. But they said, if you could, just at a minimum, please consider using Harley Quinn. They're saying, and they were like, you don't have to, but we kind of like this Margot Robbie character, and like it's up to you. And he was like, fine, I'll go watch the old movie. Like he wasn't even gonna watch the movie, dude, before he made the second one. And he ended up falling in love with that character, and he brought some others back too. He Waller, Kinnaman, all better in that movie, all significantly better. It's such a better movie, but it's just funny that they were so desperate to just do a do-over, like because they knew they had money in the bank because the first one made money, but the first one sucked too. Like it's just like that's the weird part. Like that's why I get. It's funny having arguments with Ricky or discussions with Ricky about the Hollywood stuff is like, because like it's really easy to conflate monetary box office success with quality,
and that's not
like no, those two things often don't go hand in hand. Like he was really geeked out over Top Gun this year, but I'm like, I like that movie, but it's not a good movie. Like it's it's a fun movie, where I get to see planes do cool shit, and Tom Cruise actually flew in planes. It's amazing to see him in planes, the story of Top Gun
It's not, yeah.
It's dumb. It's
Like
dumb.
Jurassic World Dominion, like, okay.
I won't even watch those because I have like a barrier of dumb, like where I'm just like, I'm like, I'll watch it on TV. It's fine.
It was just nice to hang out with old friends. That's kind of how
That's
you know what I
fair
mean?
enough.
I just wanted
like Spider-Man No Way Home.
Yeah. It's like when the MonsterVerse movies come out, Kong versus Godzilla. I go, well, I know this isn't going to win, best screenwriting or what, like,
Yeah.
it's going to be 2 hours of brain candy and just, go, well, let me take me on a ride.
Yeah. And that's, and everybody's got those. And so it's funny to me how hardcore people get about their different fandoms. And like, it's just like, look, the only way your fandom's going to grow is if you just chill the fuck out and let other people just geek out a little bit. Just let them come in.
Yeah, let them come in, and then
that's why Comic-Con is ridiculously huge now, because Marvel made it so much more accessible, that culture, and everybody else wants to do what Marvel's doing. Like,
right.
It was something I failed to bring up in the main show, but like a news item, because I guess Ricky left it out, because we do like to talk about DC news as well sometimes. But I don't know if you heard. Did you hear The Rock got booed at Comic-Con?
No.
He got booed. He came out on stage dressed as Black Adam, and he gave out lanyards that like light up so that people can have like Black Adam lanyards. And at one point in the panel, he was doing Q&A, and somebody asked him, who do they think would win, Black Adam or Superman? And boy. He basically, his question was, he answered it by explaining that it depends really on who's playing Superman. And the audience got so mad at what the cryptic implications of that were, because the audience really likes Henry Cavill,
right?
And is really annoyed at the fact that Warner Brothers has been dancing around the possibility of Henry Cavill not ever coming back as Superman. They were so mad that they started booing The Rock.
That's funny,
and it's
dude.
like, that's not even his job, man. Like, he's not responsible for who plays Superman, bro. Like,
right.
Don't get mad at The Rock for that. But it's just so funny that like DC and Warner Brothers are just dropping the ball consistently to the point where like that one James Gunn Suicide Squad movie, well, that was really good, wasn't it? Like, It's like, why are they so bad at this? Like, and then Ezra Miller, you're aware of his antics, right?
Mm-mm.
Like, you're not?
No.
What? This is stuff for your comedy, man. You know who Ezra Miller is?
Mm-mm.
Oh,
not by name anyway.
Oh, he's the guy that is the Flash in the
movie. Okay.
Like, so Ezra Miller was the Flash in the Batman vs Superman, and then
Wait, he got canceled, right?
Didn't he get canceled? They would cancel him if they could find him, but he's holed up somewhere with an underage teen that he's probably been having sex with, and supposedly has firearms as well. And he's been on the run for a few weeks now, and people can't find him.
Wow.
And that's the Flash. Like, that's the Flash. And this is after he's been arrested several times in Hawaii for punching the shit out of people that pissed him off. He punches like old ladies and shit too, dude. Like, he's been arrested several times, like since he's been cast as the Flash. His movie has been delayed so many times. They didn't even mention it at Comic-Con.
Wow.
They didn't even mention it because they don't know what to do about it. They don't know what to do about it. Because I don't know if you know the story of his movie it's called Flashpoint. And it's kind of like this really interesting thing where the Flash travels back in time to try and change one event. And then when he comes back, he's changed all of reality. And so like in the comics, it's really cool because like you get to have like different people. Like instead of Bruce Wayne, like Thomas Wayne is Batman.
Okay.
And he shoots people with guns, and like so all things are different, right? It's like everything's like nothing's off the table. And then so in the story, eventually the Flash has to team up with all these people he doesn't know. Then he goes back in time and recorrects it, and when he comes back, everything's okay again, but it's slightly different because like it's a reboot. So like in the comics, they use it as an excuse to reboot their entire universe.
Gotcha.
Everybody's been waiting for that movie as an excuse to reboot the DC universe. And they've even, I don't know if you've seen, there was a trailer for it that came out a few months ago. Michael Keaton is going to play Batman.
I saw that
movie. Yeah. And so people just wanted this movie to exist so that we could see what happens after. And I don't even know if this movie's gonna exist because like that guy's a monster. And then you have Aquaman 2 with Amber
with all
Heard
that going on. Yep.
And so they didn't mention that movie at Comic-Con either. So all they're doing at Comic-Con this year was like, here's The Rock and here's Shazam 2. Also, we got DC Super Pets coming out this weekend as well. Like, it's so bad. Like,
wow.
I mean, it makes me so sad because like as a comic book reader, the thing I always loved was both. I liked both.
Right.
Because like if one was good, it forced the other to be good too.
Yeah.
And I just do not see that right now. Like I just like, and it's so sad because like I literally sat here earlier today listing off like 15 Marvel things that we have to watch next year or the next 2 years.
Right.
And I don't even know what the fuck DC has coming out because like they have like pedos and spousal abusers and shit like that. Like it's so bad.
That's so crazy.
Bad. Yeah. You need to look up Ezra Miller after this show because he's hilarious. It's
my God, dude.
It's bad. It's bad.
Speaking of which, I do get a jet.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you for staying around.
I appreciate it. Thank you for having me. And anytime, if I can, and it's something I can at least add to the show and not be like, I don't know this. I'll be happy to do so. So
yeah, and if you want to come back again and chat about Harley Quinn, like maybe at the end of the season or something.
Yeah, let's do it. Absolutely.
Yeah. All right. Well, you good luck on your break and get those batteries charged up, and then good luck on whatever it is you decide to do with that energy when you get it back.
Thank you, man. Appreciate it, and say hi to Lindsay for me.
All right, I will do.
Okay. I'll talk to you later.
Everybody. Yep. Right. Later, everybody.